If you look at Sakayanagi in this episode, you probably wonder how she participated in the exam. While it's true that it's impossible for her to go to the designated area, the school actually gives her a special privilege where she is allowed to just stay at the starting point and let her group do all the walking. Sakayanagi's teammates will be able to get the early bird point even without her, but Sakayanagi's individual point wouldn't be counted, so even if they are a group of 3, they will only get to points when they reach the designated area. That's why when you see Sakayanagi holding a tablet and walkie-talkie, she is actually doing her part in some other ways, such as coordinating her classmates and giving them the best guide possible. The new episode skipped this detail, and unfortunately there are a few quite important details that also got skipped in the newest episode. For example, if you are wondering why Ayanokoji and Tsubasa are the ones who lead the way in the first scene, that was because Tsubasa didn't trust Ika to lead despite him having scout experience. It also needs to be noted that since the group that got involved in the accident were students from Class C and Class D, the homeroom teachers from each class were the ones who were responsible for visiting the scene, and that's why you can see Chabashira and Sakagami coming for their students. This little detail will be important later, so it will be good to keep it in mind. The whole incident scene is pretty much accurate to the light novel, and you can see this incident will be the gear to move the entire island exam to the next level. However, there are 2 things that at least need to be criticized. First, when Tsubasa was running to catch someone who was hiding behind the tree, the light novel made it vague who the one Tsubasa actually chased, but in this episode you clearly saw Ichika running from Tsubasa. The second change is about how Ika comforts Shinohara. In the novel, he grabbed her and almost hugging her, but in this episode you can clearly see there is an unexplainable distance between them, as if Ika were hesitant to take a step closer. However, I like how Komiya gave a silent nod to Ika instead of talking to him like in the light novel, because the way they communicate through their eyes feels so much more manly instead of using words. Anyway, the entire Shinohara incident finally forced all the students on the island to move, and we finally see what the others have been doing since so far we've only focused on Ayanokoji. Ayanokoji started his plan by looking for Ryuen and Sakayanagi, and even though it's not mentioned, Ayanokoji actually skipped going to his designation area a few times just to look for Ryuen, so he is actually on the brink of penalty. However, the good thing is we got a nice big note to tell us what day it is, so there will be no more confusion just like we got from episodes 5 to 8. It took a day for Ayanokoji to find Ryuen, and since he knew Sakayanagi would be in the starting point, finding her is much faster compared to Ryuen. I think they adapt both scenes pretty well despite a few skipped details, and I do appreciate how they keep Tsubasa from hearing Ayanokoji's plan without any word. Because in the light novel, Ayanokoji clearly told Tsubasa he cannot let her know about his plan. For a note, just in case you are wondering, Ryuen and Katsuragi face the island only as a group of 2 because Ryuen doesn't want any dead weight in his team, and that will remain until the end. Speaking of Ayanokoji's plan, he also involved both Chabashira and Mishima in it. For a note, he already asked for their cooperation to handle Tsukishiro back in Season 3, and that cooperation still lasts up to this exam. Mishima is his way to know what Tsukishiro had been doing, and Chabashira is his informant in case Ayanokoji needs information that could only be accessible to the teacher. If you look at the grand picture, this strategy of Ayanokoji really involved the entire second year and a few teachers, so you can probably figure how this will work out later with all 3 grades fighting in the same exam. However, Koenji remains the sole exception. With top and bottom 10 of the group finally accessible for the students, people finally recognize what kind of beast Koenji is. There is a skipped detail where Koenji mocks Ayanokoji during their tug-of-war, but overall their little competition makes sure none of them are portrayed as if they are stronger or weaker than the other. Ayanokoji clearly gave a victory to Koenji, and Koenji accepted it without making any fuss, so the anime watchers could still hype Koenji as much as they wanted. It's worth noting that despite his body being clearly skinnier compared to the previous season, they never failed to capture Koenji's antics that are so entertaining and memorable. It's too bad we didn't see how Koenji competed in the swimming competition, but it's nice to see they still remember Koenji and his magnificent speedo. Overall, so far Koenji has been treated very well by the studio, so let's hope he will always get at least that much attention. There is actually another scene with Ayanokoji and Ichinose's class students on the night of the 6th day, but it seems they chose to adapt Tsubaki and Yagami's conversation because it's better for the ending scene. This episode finally shows us the first-year students other than Tsubasa for the first time, and although it's already late, they don't seem to do anything worth noting. It was Yagami who made the first move and asked the question to Tsubaki, which once again confirms that Tsubaki is the hidden brain, at least in her own class. It's quite nice to see Tsubaki making various expressions in the anime, because in the light novel she is always shown with the same blank expression. However, their flow of conversation seems a bit forced since this episode skipped a lot of detail. For starters, they were gathering not because they are in the same group, but because the representative agreed to meet in that area even before the exam started. Tsubaki actually didn't say anything, but because Yagami kept asking about her plan to expel Ayanokoji, it made Tsubaki suspicious of him. Since Yagami seems so obsessed about expelling Ayanokoji despite having that innocent look, Tsubaki asked what kind of plan Yagami has, but when Yagami said he has no interest in expelling someone, Tsubaki threatened to harm someone important to him, which is how they eventually heard about Kushida's name. Anyway, the first-year students have now officially joined the battle, and with almost a week have passed ever since the exam started, the real battle will finally start from this point. It's too bad we still have no clue about Hosen or Harikita, but they will eventually show up later, because this exam is still far from finished,